thank you all for coming. Just a couple little housekeeping pieces of information. We're going to do two separate incidents today. We'll do one and show you a short video. Then we'll do the second one, show you a short video, and then questions from you on whichever one you want to ask about. The videos have been condensed. We will have a complete video for you if you choose to take one. One is extremely lengthy, I think probably 30 minutes. We're not cutting anything out that is beneficial, I don't think, to you, but that's up to you if you want to take one and look at it. So on September 3rd of this year at 06:52 in the morning, Deputy Christopher Saldana received a call from the dispatchers. The dispatchers had received a call of a man with a rifle in the Randsburg area on Highway 14. If you're not familiar with Randsburg, it's out in the eastern portion of our county in a deserted desert area. The town of Randsburg is there, which is a relatively small old mining town. The call was of a man with a rifle and two vehicles alongside the road. Deputy Saldana responded, found the first vehicle, got out and found that the vehicle was stolen, but there was no one around it. He then found the second vehicle a short distance away, and when he approached the second vehicle, he got out of his car and approached the second vehicle, a subject got out of the car, challenging him to a fight, and started advancing upon the deputy. The deputy retreated. The suspect ran back to his vehicle, and the deputy tried to contact him again before he got to the vehicle. The suspect reached in, pulled a shotgun out of the vehicle, and covered the deputy with the muzzle of the weapon with a firearm, and the deputy then fired at the suspect, retreating to back to his patrol car. The suspect jumped back in the vehicle and then covered the officer with the muzzle of the weapon, and the officer continued to fire. The CHP backed the deputy, and when the CHP got there, they found the suspect in the back of the car, and the suspect was deceased had been shot and was dead. With that, we'll show you a very short video of the first one. The video doesn't really show a lot. It's from a dash cam of the highway patrolman's car. The deputy was not equipped. Our substation deputies, with the exception of Wasco, do not have body cams yet. We're working towards that, but the deputy did not have a body camera. So with that, we'll show this short video. If we could blow that up, you would be able to see that shots were fired during that video. But like I said, there's not much of value on that dash cam from that vehicle. The second incident, on September 15th at 1:15 in the morning, a Deputy Ubaldo Weiss was dispatched to a suspicious vehicle in the 100 block of Monita. The vehicle had been running for a couple hours, and someone called in a suspicious vehicle. Deputy Weiss showed up, ran the vehicle plate. When he was approaching the vehicle, he got the results that it was a stolen vehicle. He saw two suspects in the vehicle. He retreated to his patrol car door, where he waited for a backup before going any further with the investigation. While he was there, he was trying to be aware of his surroundings. He heard a noise. He looked behind him, and a subject was running full speed at Deputy Weiss with something in his hand. Deputy Weiss believed that he had a weapon and ordered him to stop, and the suspect did not stop. When he got very close to Deputy Weiss fired a round and then fired a second round, and when the suspect actually struck Deputy Weiss with his body, he fired a second round, and the suspect was then contained. He is alive and recovering at the hospital, and charged with PC-69, which is interfering with the peace officer in the performance of their duties, using violence or force. The suspect in the first case is Fernando Naples, 37 years old, who is deceased. In the second case on Monita, the suspect is Ricardo Usher, 31 years old. And with that, I'd be happy to answer questions that you might have on either one of these. And please tell me which one you're wanting to talk. Oh, video, sorry. That would be the second video. And with that, answer any questions that you might have.
Sheriff Youngblood, what was the object in the second man's hand?
Turned out to be the suspect's cell phone.
Was he able to say why he approached the officer that way?
He was yelling. It was somewhat incoherent to the officer. The officer was ordering him to stop as he was running at him. And he chose not to. The officer believed, as I would have believed, that it was related to the two suspects that were in the stolen car, and the officer believed that the person that was running at him was part of this. And I think what I would have believed, and I believe he did, is if this subject gets to me, these two are going to come out and help him. And that's what I think the officer used a deadly force to stop this threat.
And was the suspect with the two?
We do not believe that they're related. After the fact, we now don't believe that they were related. Why a subject would do a suspect would do what he did, I can't answer that question. We do know a lot of things are occurring in our world with assault on police officers that make us probably more aware, and I think that was beneficial to Deputy Weiss, and that he was able to see this suspect running out of the dark at 1:30 in the morning in an attempt to attack him.
How do you suggest that people approach officers in these situations and things don't escalate like that?
Well, I would suggest they don't run at them, first of all. At 1:30 in the morning, I certainly believe that you can use voice to contact someone. The officers are not going to shoot someone that walks up to them to ask a question. We're very reasonable. I think when you watch this video, you see how unreasonable that is at 1:30 in the morning when an officer is dealing with a stolen car with two people in it. There's no logic to what the suspect did, at least in my opinion.
Is there any indication of toxicology, alcohol, drugs?
The tox takes some time to get back, and we do not know that. But whether there's a mental health issue, whether there's a drug issue, I can't really answer that. But Tony, just so you understand, at that moment, it really doesn't matter what the issue is.
Did we ever determine if the two suspects who were inside the vehicle at the truck at that time were arrested or anything like that?
Yes, they were. Yes.
Stolen vehicle.
For a stolen vehicle, yes.
And is that your guys' goal every time? I feel like that should be the end game, to make sure that everyone, suspect or not, makes it out alive.
Absolutely. When you pull the trigger in this business, in this profession, a lot of things are going to happen. None of them are good. We all know that. You're going to be subject to a lawsuit. You're going to be subject to scrutiny by the sheriff, by the media, by the public. It's just part of what we do. We accept that, and we hold them accountable when they do something wrong. And in this particular case, we haven't gotten to that point yet, but right now I can't see that I would have done anything differently.
If there are mental health issues at bay here, is there any plan in how to approach someone with that kind of situation going forward?
I mean, which one are you talking about, the first or the second?
The second instance.
He approached us. We didn't approach him.
Right.
So when you come running at an officer at 1:30 in the morning in that type of situation, whether you have a mental health issue, whether you're under the influence of drugs and/or alcohol, makes me no difference. What I do know is you're going to attempt to hurt me, and that's what's important. When we contact someone that we know has a mental health issue, we have a team of people that do that. A deputy with a mental health worker in the same patrol car, given that opportunity to diffuse the situation. And sometimes you're successful and sometimes you're not.
What's the status of the two deputies involved? Are they on leave?
We always place them on administrative leave till we complete the investigation, and I think Deputy Saldana probably is going back to work today or tomorrow.
Does it make it more difficult right now when we're dealing with not only COVID, where people feel like there's kind of no consequence to their actions right now, in a place like Kern County that's so widespread and spread out?
Well, we're not exempt from anything. Even though we're a conservative county and a very liberal state, doesn't mean we're exempt from anything. What we do know is there are ambushes that have occurred across this country on police officers. It's unacceptable. We're not going to allow a suspect to hurt us if we can prevent it. And we will take, with what's going on in our world, we are taking extraordinary precautions on how we do business. It's not business as usual, and we're going to protect ourselves first.
Sheriff, are you planning to put 2 officers in each unit?
We have plans to protect ourselves. The tactics we're going to use, we're not going to air publicly, but we certainly are concerned about the safety of our officers, and we're going to do everything that we can to protect them, and we expect them to do the same.
Given the social, political climate, what's going on right now, do you think these types of press conferences, when these happen, help the department and help people understand exactly what happened?
Well, I think it's important that we are transparent. It's important that we, when these things happen, that the public understands what happens. Sometimes it benefits us, sometimes it doesn't. But we hire from the human race. We hire human beings. They live and breathe and die just like all of the rest of the populace. And my concern is to provide public safety to this community. But my number one concern is make sure my officers are safe and have the training and equipment to protect themselves when they respond to a call for service.
Have you heard from deputies that maybe they're a little more apprehensive because of what happened to those deputies in Los Angeles?
I certainly don't need to hear from deputies to know that they're more apprehensive, as I am. They're more aware of their surroundings on calls than they were, say, 6 months ago. I am as well. I wear the uniform, the badge. I'm aware of my surroundings, and not that that I'm looking for something bad to happen, but I certainly am aware of my surroundings, and I expect them to do the same as well. It's part of their training.
Is it encouraging you? I mean, we had another instance just before these two, I believe, off the 178, where an officer was off duty carrying his firearm. Does it encourage you to say, these officers are just as much members of the community and will act when necessary?
Well, you're right. We are part of the community. We all live here. This is extraordinary times with COVID and with the unrest in our communities. We're going to deal with it. We've been down this road before. We have ups and downs. We will continue to provide public safety to the people we serve, and we can't hide from the fact that we've had a lot of violence occur in our communities. The homicide rate is higher than it's probably ever been. Just yesterday we had the homicide at Basham, so that these are startling reminders of the world that we live in. And we've had a lot of officer-involved shootings this year compared to years past, but they're almost without fail the threat on the officer's life or the threat on the public's life, and it's our job to protect them and ourselves, and we'll continue to do that.
Have you noticed any increase or like more ambushes or attacks on deputies?
Well, I've noticed ambushes across this country, yes, absolutely.
Locally, though?
We are in a time where people don't feel like they're not held accountable for a lot of their actions. And when you don't hold people accountable, they tend to push that envelope further and further, and I think we're seeing some of that. Locally, we've had 2 ambushes in the last 13, 14 days. That's really concerning to me, that we've had that, and it's required me as a sheriff to look at how we do this and how we respond, and are there ways that we can make it safer for the officers. And there are a lot of things that we can do that we certainly aren't going to publicly talk about, but we are taking those precautions.
And are these 2 incidents, are these the 2 ambushes you're referring to, or are you coming?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, when someone reaches in their car and pulls a shotgun out, knowing that you're armed, knowing that you have a gun, bad things are probably going to happen to you. When you run at a deputy at 1:30 in the morning with something in your hand, making that threat, something bad is going to happen to you. They're not going to stand there and let you hurt them, and nor do I expect them to do that.
For the second instance, do you know who made the call, and you can confirm that it was an ambush?
Well, I can confirm what you just saw, and you can make your own decision whether that's an ambush or what that is. From my standpoint, my experience in this profession, if someone were to do that to me, I would think I was being ambushed. I would think that it was related to the 2 suspects that were in the stolen car, and that this person was trying to help them in whatever way he thought was appropriate, and so you can make the assumption whatever you choose.
What is the status of Ricardo Usher currently?
Usher is in the hospital recovering from his injuries.
Has he been cooperating with deputies?
We don't release suspect statements. That investigation is still active. He has criminal charges that he has to face.
So I know the county has long been criticized for having lots of officer-involved shootings, and how might you respond to that criticism now that we've had quite a few this year?
Yeah, we don't dictate the number of officer-involved shootings. The suspect does. And if it's out of your control, and just for the record, we have been criticized by a few in this community. By and large, this community supports their law enforcement 100%, and we appreciate that support. It's what gets us up in the morning. It's what makes us go to work every day and face this job that is become extremely dangerous.
And now with deputies feeling more apprehensive, just given the current climate going on, do you have any worries that that's going to damage community relations, or how interactive the deputies can be with community members?
No, I don't.
Sheriff, could you give us a spelling of the deputies that were involved, please?
Ubaldo Weiss, U-B-A-L-D-O-W-E-I-S-S, and Christopher, C-H-R-I-S-T-O-P-H-E-R, Saldana, S-A-L-D-A-N-A. Christopher's been on for 7 years. Ubaldo's been on for 22 years.
Anything else, sir, that we didn't ask you want to add?
If you have no more questions, that will conclude our, yeah, Joel.
Can we cover why there is no volume for the first 30 seconds?
Yeah, that's a great point. I left that out. We have volume on our body cameras. In the case on Monita, the deputy failed to activate his camera in time, but what the camera does do, it goes back once you activate it and captures 30 seconds prior, but it doesn't capture the voice or the volume. So that's why there is voice on the video once the suspect is down on the ground, and the volume then kicks in. But that's the reason. Thank you, Joel, for that.
Do you think that's a technological issue, that these cameras have to be activated in these very quick, high-pressure situations?
No, you have to understand there are times, the reason we have to activate them manually, there are times when we cannot have a camera on. When you're interviewing a child, when it's a sexual abuse call, when someone's running down Highway 58 with no clothes on, and all those scenarios are real. that you choose not to activate your camera because that's not, the law doesn't allow you to do that. So it requires a manual activation, and sometimes in the heat of the moment, you don't activate it.
Just for clarification, you've had, I believe, 2 deputies that were involved in shooting outside of normal work hours. They were off duty. You guys classify those as officer-involved shootings, or are they kind of separate instances?
Well, they are officer-involved shootings because whenever you place yourself on duty, and in the case, for example, the pizza on 178 Tony's, that officer placed himself on duty the minute he took action. So it is an officer-involved shooting.
We just want to try to clarify it.
Yeah.
We're having trouble ourselves.
And is there any like protocol or policy that requires them to turn on their cameras in during instances?
There is.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Have you interviewed the guy who ran at the officer to see why he did what he did, or no?
We can attempt to interview him, but his statements, if he were to make statements, and there were statements made, we don't air those. They'll be available in the court filings, but suspect statements and interviews we don't air at a press conference. Anybody else?
Name again, to the first individual, the suspect's name again, please, sir.
On Highway 14,
Yes, sir.
the suspect was Fernando Naples, Napoles, 37 years old.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you all for coming. I appreciate it.